If you're a pop culture junkie who loves TV, film, music, comedy, and other really important stuff, then you've come to the right place. Get ready and settle in for Classic Conversations, the best pop culture interviews in the world. That's right, we circled the globe so you don't have to. If you're ready to be the king of the water cooler, then you're ready for Classic Conversations with your host, Jeff Dwoskin.
All right, Rita, thank you so much for that amazing introduction. You get the show going each and every week, and this week was no exception. Welcome, everybody, to episode 258 of Classic Conversations. As always, I am your host, Jeff Dwoskin. Great to have you back for what's sure to be a classic conversation for the record books. My guest today is none other than comedian, actor, writer, artist, Jann Karam is here. That's right. You loved her in Curb Your Enthusiasm, Seinfeld, her standout performance in HBO's 13th annual Young Comedian special. This conversation is the best. You're going to love it. It's coming up in just a second. And in these few seconds, I want to take a moment. Lee Purcell joined us last week. We talked about the Hollywood Radio Players. Amazing conversation. Also, Vernon Reid from Living Color joined us. We talked about a lot of stuff. You got to dive into those conversations, but not before you dive into my conversation with Jann. You're going to love it. Enjoy. All right, everyone, I'm excited to introduce you to my next guest, stand-up comedian, writer, actor, producer, painter, self-examiner. Loved her on Seinfeld. You've seen her on The Late Show with David Letterman, HBO's comedian special, Mad About You, million things. Welcome to the show, Jann Karam. What's up?
Yay, you got it right. You said it right. And Curb Your Enthusiasm, most recently, season 12. I was on 11 and then 12. So I'll be on 12. I play a nurse.
A nurse? Oh. Sorry, so we can start that. No. I can't say it as Jewish as Larry David would say it. Tell me about your experience on Curb Your Enthusiasm. We could start there.
Oh, well, it was really fun. It's nerve-wracking. It's nerve-wracking because, you know, you're supposed to improvise, but then you're not sure which way to go. And they just kind of maybe keep some stuff in them. They'll say, the first time we did it was season 11, right? And then I was a waiter. They ended up cutting the scene, but I'm in it for a little bit because it didn't really fit. Yes, it was too long and they had to cut something. And Larry called me up and he said, we had to cut. It was too long. We had to cut the scene. I go, well, cut someone else's. And then he laughed. But he did call me. He said, I saw that it was him because I have him in my phone, right? And I answered. I said, hello. He says, I go, no. He says, yeah. I said, what? He goes, I know. I said, no. He said, well. And I go, what? And he goes, well, I go, was I terrible? He says, no, you were great. You were fantastic. I said, oh, well, what happened? He said, we had to cut your scene. Oh, and then he said, no, you were great. I would absolutely have you back. You were fantastic. Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Why'd you cut the scene? Well, it was too long. It didn't really fit in. And he said he'd have me back. And then they did. So I went back on season 12 and I had two scenes, one with him and one with Vince Vaughn.
I'm behind on my Curb. Is season 12 out or you filmed it and that's the
No,
next
season 12. So season 11 was last season. And I think they just wrapped season 12. This is March 28th or something like that. Or yeah, the day that I get to do Jeff's podcast. I was so looking forward to it. 2023, ladies and gentlemen, remember the date. Yeah, so they just wrapped, I think, all the shooting, and then I guess they'll do the editing. So who knows when it'll be out, but I'll let you know.
I look forward to that. So two scenes, so less likely to get cut, which is great. They tell you just a little bit, and then you just kind of go for it.
Yeah, just my scenes, kind of basically. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not supposed to say anything, and it's like, wait, can I say I did it? Yeah, but I don't think you're supposed to say. You know, obviously, if I'm a nurse, it took place in a hospital, but all of the episodes seem to take, all of the seasons, there's a hospital scene, it seems.
We'll look forward to that. You have a big character role in Seinfeld, but we'll work up to that.
Okay, yeah.
How did you get into comedy? Like, you're funny.
Yeah, it was always funny. We always watched comedy shows growing up, and I think my parents are funny. My sister says, I don't think they are. My dad's kind of snarky. And sarcastic, and he's like the worst heckler that I've had to encounter. Because he says some zingers that, you go, can I get a bouncer to get this guy out? There was security. I mean, like below the belt stuff that nobody else would say. Like, wow, it just stuns me. It's so shocking sometimes the things that he'll say that are so cutting, or you're like, wow, that I'm speechless. So I guess I could handle hecklers because of him. It was good spring training. And then my mom's real funny. She's funnier as she's older. She's more like loose. She says funny, witty, observational things and tells stories kind of way that I think I was sort of primed for it. And my dad was a politician and he was a community leader and he was out there, making sure other people's kids were having fun. So he was never home, but he was making sure other people's kids were doing something. I was like, where's our dad? Oh, he's volunteering again. But yeah, so I think that helped. And then I went to college and I couldn't get in plays. And I went to like a crummy high school. There wasn't a theater department. And then I couldn't get in plays. So I just said, well, I'm like 19. And I went to ASU, Arizona State University. And then I'd gone to back east and I saw some comedians live. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to sit around and wait for somebody to tell me, like, give me my destiny or decide it. And then I just said, I'm going to do stand up because that way I'm autonomous and I can perform. It's just a matter of me showing up, nobody letting you down or waiting for a part that you don't even really want to do. And it's a long answer, and I also wanted to have a voice. I wanted to be able to articulate, which I haven't gotten there yet because it's like a 3-minute answer. Working on it.
What overlooked plays? Was there just other people that were getting all the parts and?
Yeah. Other people. I was like, wait, I even audition now all the time. And I'm like, I go to pay $100 for the self-tape, because it was doing it at home during COVID where, it turned into where you have to tape the audition at home. Do you do those?
I don't. I'm a stand-up comic, but I do this podcast now. But no, I haven't.
That's good.
I auditioned once for a movie that was local because in Michigan we had the incentives for like half a minute. So I went once. It was horrible. I was horrible.
Well, it takes some doing, that's for sure.
It was so bad, Jan. Well, first of all, I was sitting there forever and I'm like, oh, I had to go. And I was worried. I didn't want to leave because I thought that was rude.
You had to leave or you had to go to the bathroom?
No, I had to leave. Like I had to be somewhere. I'd been there for hours.
Oh, okay. You got like a kid when they go, I got to go. I got to make.
Well, let's say they were supposed to see us at 1 and I had to get back to work and it's like all of a sudden 3, right?
Oh my God.
So I knew what was going to happen. I didn't want to be rude. So I'm like, hi, I just want to let you know I got to go. You can just take my name off we'll see you right now. I'm like, no, that is not what I'm saying.
Oh, wow.
So I go in. It was so bad, Jan. It was so bad. And it was so bad that when I left, I realized I hadn't signed the waiver and I didn't sign it. And so I just walked out the door. So there was no way they would ever be able to use that footage. It was for like a Jason Mewes film or something. All right. So you're like, I'm going to be a comedian. So you're at ASU. You're doing comedy. What's the comedy scene around Arizona State University?
Well, it was kind of small. It was Macayo's Mexican food restaurant and then a Playboy Club, the Playboy Club, and they had an actual stage in the showroom. It was really nice. They had it there on Mondays, and then Cayo's was, I don't know, Tuesday. And we had an improv group that was just, kind of not that organized. And then there were little rooms here and there that would pop up like usual, or I started a room and for 6 months, things like that, and then I did it. And then I moved to Chicago after 2 years when I had an act. And then I studied at Second City and I did comedy in Chicago and the outskirts. And then I moved to New York. I stayed there for about 8 months. That was my plan. I had a plan. Now these days I don't have a plan. I just like, what happened to the original plan? How do I, you take those steps and then they work out and then you get to a wall and you're like, okay, now what? How do I make that kind of plan where you can make those kinds of strides? The strides are less, not as strideful. Did you like that though? Didn't you like I said not as strideful? Okay.
Yeah, it was good. All right. So you're studying improv.
Yeah.
Any folks of note that we would know that were around in the Second City at that time?
No, nobody like, then, that was the problem. I didn't meet anybody that could help me, or like, oh, they got me on Saturday Night Live because I met such and such. Like, I wish I would have known maybe to take more classes or get into the group, but, get into like what do you call it? The main show or the main room or the main stage. But no, I kind of didn't have as much interest in that as I did doing stand-up. I had to stick to my guns.
As well, you should have. All right, so now you're in New York.
Yeah.
Catch a Rising Stars.
Yeah. Would you like to hear the story? Richard Belzer recently passed away. God rest his soul. When I was working in Phoenix, there was a comedy club called Chuckles that opened up, and it was used to be a dance club, and it was like upstairs, downstairs, and you could walk around kind of. I don't know if you've been to the Laugh Factory in Hollywood. It was like the shape of a football field, but not as large, but you could walk around and be upstairs and look down at the comedians, and you could be floor level. Brought everybody in from LA and New York. And apparently people weren't getting paid. It was like heavy drug users, the owners, and all, they were paying in cocaine and stuff like that. But Richard Belzer was there and I was hosting. So I had the opportunity. I met a lot of comedians at that time. Like, I think I saw Elaine Boozler there, which really was inspiring. And Paul Provenza, that's where I met him. And then Richard Belzer. And Richard said, I told him I was moving to New York. And he said, when you get to New York, tell me and I'll get you in at Catch a Rising Star. So I went to Catch, and I guess he set it up. I didn't have to wait in line or take a number or whatever. I showcased in front of the three people that were comedians and in charge, Adrian Tolsch and Larry Amorose and JJ Wall at the time. And I passed and I became a regular. So that was really key, because if it weren't for him, and that connection, I would have passed, but I was kind of ushered in, which helps. That's for sure.
That's cool that he did that for you.
I know. I feel really lucky in those ways.
I love the Bells. He was great. He was so funny.
I know. Thank you, Richard Belzer. And I think I told him before how you helped, and he would kind of go, yeah, you helped me. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have gotten into Catch. It's different when you're treated that way and you're not just some schmuck outside taking a number, and just like, hey, I'm from Arizona. You just have that kind of confidence.
Yeah, you had the Belzer swagger behind you, so nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. I had the belt swag.
So how long were you doing comedy in New York before you headed over to LA?
Then when I was at Catch, that's where I met Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld and Bill Maher. So they were all like really hot then and coming back and forth, LA, New York. And so I was friends with Jerry, hung out with him for a lot. Also Larry. And I think I was there for about almost 4 years. And then my rent, I had to move out of my apartment because the girl got a boyfriend, a roommate. And I kind of didn't have any place to go. And then I wasn't really getting spots anywhere. It became, to me, in my opinion, in the 80s, it became very male. It was more so than ever that the women weren't getting spots, in my experience. I couldn't get on at the Comedy Cellar. So then I was with Jerry Seinfeld at this restaurant called Columbus, where a lot of people hung out. And then Bud Friedman was there with Alex. And then Jerry said to Bud, this is Jann Karam. She's moving out to LA. She would be great in your club. So that was another ushering in. And then I became a regular. Then I moved, kind of the stars were lining up. But I wish, in a way, sometimes I thought, I should have stayed in New York and I could have maybe had different opportunities. But then I had good opportunities when I moved to LA. And so then I became a regular at the Improv in Hollywood.
Queen of the referrals.
Queen, I know. Well, it's like, that's the only way. And then because of that, I was on Seinfeld and I was in one of Jerry's early specials called Stand Up Confidential, which was on HBO. And anyway, and then I got on Seinfeld because I knew Larry and Jerry and they had me audition. And then I got Curb Your Enthusiasm because of that relationship. What else? That's about it. Then the rest, everything dried up.
So you met a lot of the right people.
Oh, and I got on Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher because I met him too.
Sorry to interrupt. I have to take a quick break. I want to thank everyone for their support of the sponsors. When you support the sponsors, you're supporting us here at Classic Conversations, and that's how we keep the lights on. And now back to my conversation with Jann Karam. Are you still in touch? I know Larry, obviously you're in touch with because you just told us that story, but do you stay connected with Jerry and or Bill Maher? Have you been on his new show?
I haven't been on the latest. We know that he stopped using comedians, and but no, I don't see him. And Jerry, I run it. I saw him at George Shapiro's his manager's celebration because he was also my manager, but not as extensively as Jerry's. He wasn't as invested, but so I was there, and then Jerry was like, "Hey, Jann, how are you doing?" And then I said something about the conversation that was taking place. And then I forgot to say, "Jerry, I'm so sorry." And I'm just like, kick myself. But then I didn't know if I say, "Hey, Jerry, I'm so sorry." He goes, "What are you sorry about? You didn't kill him or something." You never know with that guy, like what kind of like a normal person, you would say, "I'm so sorry for your loss." And they'd say, "Thank you." But Jerry, you don't know if it's like, what? It's not my loss. It's not a loss. It's so I kind of just, and then afterwards I was kicking myself for not saying that to him, like proper etiquette or whatever,
I think there's no real proper etiquette at a Shiva or anything like that. It's like, meaning like everyone says the wrong thing. Cause it's like, even just going up to someone and going, "Oh my God, it's so great to see you." And you go, "Oh, I mean, not under this circumstance."
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's
right. Yeah. To have like a real human interaction. Huh?
Yeah. So it's hard when I think the fact that you were there pushed along that sentiment, because you wouldn't have been there if you weren't sorry or mourning alongside with him and stuff like that. So, things don't need to be always said. There's some things implied in certain situations, and I think that's one of them. But I would just say too, it's the same thing. Everyone, you say a normal thing and you realize, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that because we're here." You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is he said something, and then I said, "Oh," he said something about George or something, maybe. And then I kind of went in like to start to hug, but it was like, when was this? Was it October? And went in to kind of hug, and he backed up, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, I read that signal wrong." I thought it was maybe even like a pat hug where you extend your arms, but you just your fingers on the shoulders. But I just got, nope. I started to lean in, and I got like, nope. He kind of, so.
Well, Jerry's known for not hugging. Wasn't there a whole thing
I know.
with Keisha?
But since I've known, yeah. But that's it. But I thought, well, since I've known him so long and I have hugged him in the past, like it would be okay. I kind of had a pass.
If I hug you, it opens the door to everyone. I can't. Yeah.
Yeah. But if I hug you, I'm going to hug everyone. Here we are doing bad Jerry impressions. I never knew come to this, Jeff. Oh my God.
I think doing bad Jerry impressions. It's anytime I talk to someone who's worked with Rodney Dangerfield, there's certain people, I think when they talk about them, they always do the voice. Like anytime talking to someone who had known Rodney or was telling her Rodney, he's like, "Oh, they always jumps into it.
Oh, yeah.
Always,
Yeah. Well, you must have fun doing this podcast. It must be fun.
Oh, yeah, it's tons of fun. As I'm having fun right now with you.
I know. And guess what? I'm going to do Bill Burr's podcast because I was recently in touch with him. So do you want to hear a Bill Burr story?
I love a Bill Burr story. He's hilarious.
Okay. I know. So I did, because time just flies. I can't even believe it. You go 20 years ago, but I did Letterman. And apparently, when I did the Young Comedian special, there was a crop of people starting out or not quite starting out that then started doing comedy. It was 90. So there was a group of comedians that started around that time. And so a lot of them later said they'd seen me well, Bill Burr was one of them. And he recently said my name on Dana Carvey, who, by the way, sometimes I open for Dana Carvey.
I know. I want to talk about that too. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I love Dana. You can hug Dana too. Bill Burr was on recently with Fly on the Wall on David Spade and Dana Carvey's Fly on the Wall, right? They have people that have been on an SNL. It's a brilliant idea, right? And it's endless because all those years of doing Saturday Night Live. So then my friend Ross Schaefer said, "Hey, Bill mentioned you." He's a comedian too. And he said, "Bill mentioned you on Dana's and David's podcast." He said that he'd watched the Young Comedian special and it was like the best special. And he said Dennis Miller, Jann Karam, and then he mentioned like of all the names. And so I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So I said, "Hey, I heard you mention my name." And he goes, "Oh yeah, that's what got me started doing comedy." And I was like, and then a star was born. And so he owes me his career. But anyway, so I'll be doing his podcast. But there's more to the story. Should I tell it or is it?
No, please.
So then I know I'm like I'm going to hold back anyway. Well, when I did Letterman, I was going back and forth to New York, right, from Los Angeles. And then I ran into him or met him or whatever. And so he had a 1-bedroom apartment. It wasn't really a 1-bedroom. It was like it was a closet with a door. You sleep in the closet. No, it was pretty decent. It was Midtown. And I don't know how when he said, hey, you can stay at my place. A couple times I stayed at his place, which saved me because I was doing Letterman and they only give you a hotel for one night, but you want to run around the city and do sets and stuff. And I couldn't afford, I didn't have a place to stay. So he said I could stay. And he was like, like a really perfect gentleman, really respectful. I stayed in the room. He stayed outside. I did Letterman. And I guess for him, that was kind of a big deal because, I didn't know at the time that he'd seen me on the Young Comedian special, right? Until now, years later. Then he ended up coming out to LA and stayed in my apartment, which was now my ex-boyfriend living there. Oh, wait, hold on. Hey, Andrew, I'm doing a podcast right now. I was just talking about doing the podcast with Bill on the podcast.
Maybe we'll chat tomorrow.
Are you available in a little bit? I'll call you when I'm done with the podcast. Okay, I'll hit you up tomorrow. Thanks, Andrew. Okay, bye. So that was Bill's person to book. Isn't that cool?
That is awesome.
Like double podcast. Or no, you can't say gangbang podcast. Okay, the double podcast. So then Bill came out during pilot season. This is before, and he needed a place to stay. So he stayed at what was my apartment, but I moved out. And the boyfriend stayed, but he was on the road because he's a piano player. And then Bill stayed there for like several months, like a couple of times too. So that worked out really well. So we're kind of bonded in that way, now so bigger than ever, rising star. And then I see him once in a while, but then I just heard my name and then reached out to him.
Isn't that surreal though? That it's cool, yeah. Right? Just randomly, Bill Burr, he could have said anything. David Spade, Fred Stoller, they were on that special also.
Yeah.
It's so cool to me. Like, I'm just putting myself in your head. It's like, oh, here's one of the top comedians right now, and he's name dropping me, and I inspired him. That's got to make you feel great. That's really cool. It
really, that's why because normally people will say a guy, usually, like they won't really cite a female comedian normally, that inspired them or, but yeah, he said mine, like, you're right, out of like Warren Thomas or Drake Sather. And then of course, David and Dana went on to name, he didn't say David. That's right. He was on David's show, but I'm sure he said, David, you were on it.
Yeah, it's probably one of the reasons why it probably came up. Do you have any specific memories from the HBO's 13th Young Comedian special is what we're talking?
Yeah, but there's one more thing about that recently, not even recently, maybe it was pre-COVID, that Kamal Bell, you know him, right?
Mm-hmm.
W. Kamal. He was on the Smartless podcast. You know that one?
Yeah.
With
Jason Bateman.
So then he said, somebody sent me a clip and he said, all my friends were listening to, not Quest for Love, but what was it called? Tribal. I can't remember. They're saying, hey, did you hear the new such and such album? And he'd say, no. Did you see Dennis Miller and Jann Karam on the Young Comedian special? And I was like, he said my name? What? Yeah, so that was like out of all the people he mentioned, I didn't even know this was going on.
Well, I know for me, moving forward, I'll be like, oh, yeah, I was talking to Jann Karam. Name dropping you all the time moving forward.
Oh, yeah, right. The best podcast, yeah. That was pretty, I guess it was like considered, Judd Apatow said it was the best special of the Young Comedian special. It was the 13th annual, yeah. And Brillstein Gray produced it. That was their first year. And I thought they did a really great, like classy job of producing it. It looked great. It was at the Mayfair Theater on Santa Monica. And it was right across from the Improv, which both places are no longer there.
So I read for that special that Dennis Miller insisted David Spade be a part of it. Everyone's time had to be cut to make room for David.
Oh, wow. You see?
Because Spade had tried to get on 4 other times, but him and Dennis were friends. So
yeah, I could say that's how I got the showcase, is because of Dennis Miller. I worked with him in San Francisco. And then he recommended me to Brillstein Gray. I went up at the Improv in Santa Monica, and then I got booked. So that's because of Dennis. See?
Look at you.
We're the women who helped me. Elaine Boozler, but I worked for her before.
Who were the other women of note that were like, do you have other women comedians around at the time besides Elaine Boozler that the women role models for you? Or like, I don't know, like just inundated with everyone was just a guy comedian?
Well, no, but I mean, kind of the women, it seems like take their own path because it's sort of, I don't want to say it's fight or flight, but it's not as, they don't have as many opportunities. So it's like a singular opportunity versus, a gaggle of guys in the room at the in the green room at the Comedy and Magic Club. It's like, oh, can I come in? Can I squeeze in here? Although Catch a Rising Star was pretty well balanced in terms of Adrienne Tolsch was one of the bookers and she was very female friendly. Like she could have said, no, you don't pass if she didn't want me in, right? And it was two other guys and they had, Rita Rudner and I think Carol Leaford already gone to LA. And there were a lot of female comedians there. Susie Essman. I don't want to name names because then but everybody was kind of doing their own thing. We're all working together, but everyone's taking their own path. But it's like when these certain people get a show like Bill Maher or Seinfeld or Larry David, then they can bring you in. Everyone's trying to do their own project or stand up. It's a group, but you're singular, right? I don't know. Never mind. Forget it. Can we start over?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, my guest today is Jann Karam. Karam, isn't it?
Karam.
It's
Karam.
Karam.
Well, you could say Karam. Well, you're from Michigan. Are there Middle Eastern people in there where you're from?
Yes. Dearborn, yeah.
My mom's from Detroit, but she moved here, and that's where she met my dad. And then she always says, I wish I never left Michigan because I missed out on so many of my cousins and family, but my dad wanted to move, and I was 16, and I didn't have a say. I said, yeah, but Mom, if you moved, you would never met Dad. She said, I know. I said, but we wouldn't have been born. It would be a totally different life. She goes, yeah, maybe. So I don't know how she thinks we would have been born if she didn't ever move.
Who'd I be talking to right now? This is getting a little trippy.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
All right. So before the 13th annual, before the 13th Young Comedian Special, was you were a big shot already. You were on the Tonight Show.
Well, one Tonight Show, but and then. But yeah, I mean, things were starting to kind of move up and I had a bunch of people that wanted to manage me and agencies. And I just feel like I just made the wrong choices all the way because I ended up going with William Morris and I got, I'll take Jann. And then you're only young there for about, 6 months. And then it's like, that's when they were taking in a lot of comedians, right? And felt like I got passed around from one agent to the next, and maybe that agent would now get too busy. So, and then they didn't really get me auditions, or if they did, and I didn't know what I was really doing. And I studied acting. I don't know. I just sort of regret and have pain about that part because, relying on other people. When look, all the things that happened were because of my own relationships and not because of, achievement, right? But also because of the relationships I made. You turn it over to somebody and now you're helpless again. You're waiting to get cast in something that you didn't really want or not prepared. Not prepared, but it's just too much of a crapshoot.
So no one at William Morris just owned you. There was just no goals. Did you feel like they were just dropping you? Here's Mad About You. Here's Norm or what?
Well, I got mad about you because I knew Larry Charles he offered me that. And it was just a tiny guy. Was anything else? I was like a donut shop girl, but he offered that to me. That was I didn't even audition. But yeah, no, I felt like at William Morris, it's so big and, they want to just they're going to go with the sure bet, right? And they think, oh, she's a sure bet. But if it doesn't happen right away, then the next agent will go, well, I'll take her. And then they pass me down the line of car salesman, which sounds rude, but all the hours and times getting dressed up, going there to try to talk, hey, hi, da, 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 and the meetings and all. And then I had about maybe 10 managers. I had made a tape. Not everyone wanted to manage me, but there was a list of people that wanted to manage me. And I picked this woman that all she cared about was my lipstick. And she was, did these jeans make me look too fat? And it was at a time when I feel like I could have gotten some things, but that she wasn't. I made that, like, you need a female. They were saying, you need a female manager, which could be true, but not that particular female manager. And then she went on to be with a big management company that still exists, that has a lot of comedians. And she has an actor who has a long running series. And she just kind of let it go and never, I mean, I kind of regret that. That was that one moment where I could have been somebody.
Could have been a contender.
Yeah, it was just more like, hey, don't now just take my life and all this work and just kind of like ask me about your genes. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
I got to hang up. Where's my therapist?
Okay. We're in the timeline.
Tell him I'm smiling. I'm smiling, you guys.
Like, what at this point have you done or not done?
Like, did that sound negative, the whole management thing?
No, it sounded raw and real.
Wait, I had just done a pilot with Nell Carter, and the guy from NBC said, Warren Littlefield, he said, this woman is gold, golden or gold, whatever. And I had done the Young Comedian special, and I had done Tonight shows, and I was like bubbling, you know? So it's like, don't you take that and kind of make a bigger deal or try to make a deal or get me a series deal? Because that's when people were doing holding deals and all that kind of stuff. So, but no, it didn't seem like much action was being taken or coordinated. And that's what's really frustrating, because it's like, if you don't, I got to do this myself, which I think a lot of artists or performers or, you know, feel like you're doing your own podcast. You're not going to wait for somebody to.
Exactly. This frustration is kind of a time where you've been on the Tonight Show. We were on one of the funniest and most successful HBO comedian specials. You'd probably done an evening at the Improv at this point.
No, I think the evening at the Improv wasn't they more in the 90s? I'm not sure. Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
Yeah, and there was Comic Strip Live, even at the Improv, VH1 Stand Up Spotlight. I was on all those shows, you know. I did like a Dick Clark Live.
I know, I watched that. I didn't know Dick Clark had a show like that.
Well, you know, it was during a writer's strike. They did that because, you know, they made a variety show or something like that because you didn't need writers. Yeah, so you just had me stand up like, oh, but I'm a writer. I wrote my own material, but that doesn't count. Okay. No.
I did want to point out that you weren't just on the Mad About You. That was an important episode. That was the one where they found out they were having a baby.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right. So I'm sorry. So was there ever a time then after this, either pre or post Seinfeld, which we'll get to?
And you were happy?
Well, I guess, yeah. But in terms of like work, yeah, I mean, or just, was there a time where anything just started to click or thread or like where like you could get that momentum back? Because the Tonight Show back then, right?
Yeah.
That was like a golden ticket. You were on it twice.
Yeah, I know. And I got like an okay and a wink from Johnny, and Jim McCauley, who was the booker at the time, who is also now no longer with us, he's the one that put me on the show. And despite his reputation, there wasn't any crossing of the line or anything. He was respectful to me, and there were no sexual exchanges, because that's kind of like what his reputation was, I guess. But that doesn't mean it's true, right?
True.
He said that when Johnny asks you to come over, it's because they have to fill 30 seconds or a minute or something. So it's like, oh man, if I only would have cut out a little bit or didn't go as long, then maybe I would have been able to sit down, which was like a big thing. Like if Johnny calls you over, yeah, that would have been maybe a deal changer too. Even though I got the okay and a wink and you could hear him laugh and all that, there wasn't any time. That's what Macaulay said. I don't know.
Was it easy to get booked on the Tonight Show? I feel like when I talked to, I think Rita Rudner and Wendy Liebman, I think they both struggled to get on there.
Yeah. Did Wendy do it with Johnny, or I couldn't get on with Jay? Well, I didn't really try.
I think Wendy did it at the very end of Johnny's.
Okay.
Jay didn't want anyone, I think, who was on with Johnny. So from what I heard also.
Oh, right. Yeah. And he didn't have his friends on either. And George Miller, who said, you know, you don't have all your friends on. And he like really laid into him. And then he called up George. Whoa, what do you mean? No, I do. Because Miller was the kind of person that would just tell you how it was. And he was really pissed that Leno didn't have people on, his friends, from the Comedy Store and stuff.
Right, because you're used to, and it seems that a lot of people do, like Larry David and all of them. It's with Curb, he's had everyone on that he's ever known. You give back. When you make it, you give back.
Or you try to put your friends in, which is what Seinfeld and Larry did on Seinfeld. The writers were their friends, You got to be funny, and they're not just going to give it, but I had to audition 3 times for Seinfeld. And then I said, if I don't get it this time, it's too humiliating in front of Larry and Jerry. It's like, walking in that room. And then I got that last one. That'll teach me to say never.
Sorry to interrupt. Have to take a quick break. And we're back. And Jann's going to tell us why you never give up. It's a big one, though.
Yeah, it was voted #1 girlfriend episode.
Yes, the Up Rocks' very important scientific ranking of Jerry's girlfriends on Seinfeld puts you at #1. That's
wow. That was the Switch episode.
That was
right?
The Switch, yes.
That I was a non-laugher.
Yes.
The girl that didn't laugh.
You kept saying, very funny. That's very funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I said, that's funny.
That's funny.
Yeah. And they said that they had other people audition for it, but only a comedian knew how to say that line. I was like, wow, okay.
Right.
Because I guess they weren't saying it right, because you know how comedians really go, that's funny.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Because we laugh inside.
Yeah. Well, intellectually, you think it's funny, right?
Because comedians, I think, appreciate it at a different level, whether they've laughed or not. And so, oh, yeah, that's funny. Yeah. That was funny. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I think that was the difference in, the read of the line.
I rewatched the episode. One of notes, that's the episode where we learn Kramer's name is Cosmo as well. So that was...
Yeah.
But his whole thing with you and your roommate in the show was too funny. Which leads me to, I know you're #1 in the Up Rocks article, but then I found another article by Cracked, which is ranked all of them, all the girlfriends dumped by Jerry, but it was based on a pettiness ranking, Jerry's pettiness for the reason.
Oh, how funny.
There you ranked number 24. Still right in the middle. So, but
that's good though.
Yeah. But with the Up Rocks one, it's important to point out that you beat out Terry Hatcher.
Oh my God.
She was #2.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, right? I mean, so there you go. And then the pettiness factor, because he talked you into a menage a trois, but then he wouldn't go through with it.
Yeah, that one wasn't as petty, right?
Right.
I could see how some other ones were petty, like, what was the other pet? Well, not the big hands one. Was the big hands one petty?
I think all of them had a little bit of something.
Which one was #1 petty?
I didn't write it down. I didn't know.
Oh, okay. Well, that's something for your listeners to Google.
Yes, exactly. Well, let me see real quick. I might have the link right here. I do.
Are you doing stand-up in your Michigan state?
I've done it a little bit. After the pandemic, it sort of fell by the wayside. And then I started doing the podcast took up so much time.
Busy.
Yeah. The #1 dumped a girlfriend for pettiness reasons was Christine Taylor. Because she was a loser and didn't have any friends. Not as exciting as the other one, so.
Yeah, I know. I don't even remember that episode. I'll have to look it up.
Some of them, it's like you don't remember, then you start to watch it and go, oh, I remember this. It's like it all kind of clicks back.
Oh, right. I know. I see them and I say to myself, no, did I see this before? Because sometimes, you watch them and it's like you're watching it for the first time. It's fun.
It is fun.
Instead of the news.
It's fun to rewatch all the Seinfelds because I remember when you're watching it real time, there was a point where everyone claimed, oh, it's not as good as it used to be, right? Just because. Yeah. But now if you watch it and you don't know what season it's from because they never play them in order, they're all just great.
Yeah.
They're all just great.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Come on, people.
So going with the theme of making your own thing happen.
Oh, I like that theme.
I know. Reclining nude on La Cienega.
Yeah.
I say that right?
La Cienega. Yeah.
I watched the whole thing. You're not nude once.
Oh, I know. It's a trick.
It's amazing. It's so cool though. So that's a one woman show. That would be called.
Yeah.
And then you're painting.
Yeah.
And I saw on your website, you have all these cool paintings and painting things that you sell.
They're for sale. I want someone to buy a painting. I have so many paintings in my friend's storage, which I hope didn't flood. And then I have a bunch here. So they're all for sale. Okay. No. But yeah.
How did you either morph or work your way into all the stand-up and then in creating this one-person show and then incorporating, which I'm guessing, your love of painting and I guess your acting background. So it's like a whole merger of all things Jann up to this point.
Oh, that's cool. All things, yeah. And maybe that's the new title. Oh, that's so great. Well, I guess in the 90s when everything got kind of dried up with stand-up, you know, how all the clubs were closing and then it was like, go to hell and, oh, you're mainstream. And now we're doing alt, which everybody's been doing alt forever. When they say alt comedy, it's very bougie, huh? Kind of pretentious, you know, that whole thing. And then I couldn't get on. They go, no, if somebody said, I go, can I get on the show at the Largo? Oh, no offense. One of the bookers said, but I know you from the A-list. And I go, what's that? I guess like, because they didn't want like that airline jokes which I wasn't ever doing. And the young comedian special, I shouldn't complain. I'm going to be more positive. Anyway, so then I was also frustrated with the fact that stand-up comedy was limited in what you could say. And I wanted to kind of reach more and delve deeper into subjects, you know, about family. And then I painted at home. And I was like, oh, maybe I combine the expression of paint with words. And therefore, you know, I could take it a lot further. I started doing it in 97. And then in 2015, then George Slaughter had seen it a few years prior. And he's the creator of Laugh-In. And he said, let's shoot this. And then we did and finished it like it's broadcast ready, but didn't get it anywhere to, you know, I still want a HBO or something like that. But it's its own kind of genre, right? They're just doing all those stand-up specials.
Yeah, it's very unique. And it's really, I thought it was really cool. I enjoyed it.
Oh, thanks.
You did Under the Big Moo Moo. You make a lot of things happen for yourself, which is really cool. So that's kind of your thread, right?
I think so. Yeah. It's just like, because somebody said, yeah, that's my thing is I'm just going to keep moving and do my own thing and not be restricted by what, you know, because those agents, they're like, oh, don't go on the road, stay in town so you can audition for pilot season. Well, I did it, but I took myself off the road. I didn't headline, and then those clubs wouldn't have me back. You know what I mean? Because you canceled or whatever. And then it's like, shoot, you're on a roll. And then you try to do the right thing, but it ended up being like not. So yeah, I find that doing my own thing, I feel the most empowered and less restrained. And also I'm not waiting around, you know, not that people can't help you or don't make things happen, but I don't know.
I think the reality is for most people, the best things that happen to them or will happen to them, they made themselves.
Yeah.
I think it's a great path. If Larry calls and says, hey, we got an episode of Curb season 12, that's just a cherry on the top.
And it's because of the work that I did so he would call me. It's because of the work, the stand-up or, you know, the preparation so that you are good enough so that you can get those calls.
Opportunities not randomly knocking for you. You earned it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of, yeah. I mean, I feel like now it's either we're bragging or we're downplaying. I got to get this interview right.
You'll have it perfect by
the time it's done. Maybe it'll be all come together. You want to hear about Under the Big Moo Moo?
Yeah.
Okay, so the guy, Glenn Padnick, was one of the people that told William Morris she needs to have a series. We could put her together with that Growing Pains, or there was a girl that was on there. I can't remember. She needs to have a holding deal or whatever. Well, William Morris never took that lead and pursued it and made it happen. Well, I also wanted to be a filmmaker, so I wrote Under the Big Moo Moo, which is a story about my mom comes to visit, drives me crazy, but there's still this bond. It's poignant and funny. And Jerry Seinfeld watched it and said, one of his quotes is, he thought it was hilarious. And when you get to the end, if you have a mom, you can't not cry. So even that's from Jerry Seinfeld.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So I said, I'm going to make this short film because I'm like, let's take matter into our own hands again, going back to my ASU mantra. So I wrote the short film and everybody's like, nobody's going to give you money for a short film. So I sent it to Glenn Padnick at Castle Rock, who was the producer of Seinfeld, who I'd met because he liked my stand-up. And he's the one that said he told William Morris to give me a deal. Well, then he said, let's have lunch. And we did. And then he said, what if I give you holding deal money, $50,000? And this is like in 97 or to make this film, because they made El Mariachi for $7,000, but he didn't know like all the post-production and all. He said, what if you do that? And then I give you that and you make this film and we'll use it as like a pilot for a series or to show the networks. Well, it took a lot longer. I did it all guerrilla style. It was Castle Rock umbrella, but I had to do it all myself, like put the crew together. And Castle Rock helped production management guy, Jeff Stott, had to sign off on it. And I had an office. It wasn't like this department, that department. I had to put all the departments and I got a producer, George Grubb, that helped me and produced it. And then we pulled it together. But it was like over a year later by the time I went through everything and post-production, because it wasn't digital, And it won festival awards. But by then, Glenn Padnick was like, oh, and then I think he sent it to CBS or something. And then they wanted the multicams. It was Friends and Seinfeld. And this was like a single cam, how they are now, like on Hulu and, the series that are single camera.
You were too ahead of your time.
I know, right? That's what I say. So no, because they said, oh, it's only about the day in a life. It's not really a series per se. We don't know who the regular characters are and it's not, but it won festivals and I was proud of it. And it was like one of those things like, okay, mission accomplished. That was the goal. And I accomplished it, but wasn't monetized. Is that the word?
Yeah.
How do I get my dream is for Rob Reiner, because he's brought up Castle Rock, because Rob Reiner's Castle Rock, right?
Right.
And my dream is now to get it to Rob Reiner somehow and go, hey, I want to make the feature film version of this of 25 years later, mom and daughter, now mom's older, and then revisit that. So that's don't tell anyone, but that's my new goal.
All right. That would be great.
ASU mantra.
And Rob Reiner could use a hit. So I think this would be perfect.
I know. Let's get him on your podcast and you close.
I will. You make it happen. I'll make it.
Find out. Okay. I'll find it. You have one of those really good laughs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like a silly, it's like a good laugh. Yeah.
Tell me about touring with Dana Carvey.
Oh yeah. So, oh my God. Well, I met him through a mutual comedian in 2009. And they got me on a show. Then he asked me if I would open for him. And he was doing some big theater, Indio or something, McAllen or something like that. And then somewhere else, and I opened for him. And then he started asking me to open for him. And then his two sons did stand up. And then he asked me, that they wanted to get up and practice and get their chops. And so we went kind of all over different small clubs and everywhere. So I host, open, do 20, then the boys separately, and then eventually together a team, and then Dana. So it was really a lot of fun. And the great thing about it is that his wife, she loved me, and she's the one that advocated, well, you need Jann on the show. Tired of all these guys. And that's not what she said, but she wanted the female energy. She liked that it was like a nice nurturing sort of fun show. It wasn't aggressive and hostile. Not that all men are that way, but it was nice to have a female wife potentially threatened, because lots of the women will get in the way of comedians, female comedians. Don't take that out of context, ladies, but it was really wonderful that she's the one that she could have said, no, I don't want her going on the road with you, or, but it wasn't about that for her. It was about, she really loved the show and she was advocating for that.
That's awesome.
That was great. I love her. I love them. Yeah.
I've kept you forever. I appreciate you hanging with me. I did want to end with and mention.
Okay.
So, when you listen to another comic, sometimes you have a lot of funny material. So, you'll know what I mean by this. But when you say there's that one line where you're like, oh God, that's brilliant. I wish I had thought of that. So your joke about visualization.
Oh.
You're like, I don't visualize what I don't want, and I have that.
Yeah, exactly.
That line to me is brilliant, like beyond brilliant. Like every time I heard I'd watch a thing and you do that line, I'm like, oh, love it. I can hear that over and over again. It's so funny.
Thank you.
'Cause it's so true.
That happened in a gym. I know. Well, and it's one of those where I got so sick of those people saying it, but I didn't put it all together, right? You know how you hear these cliches, and it makes me sick. And then you go, oh yeah, you're right. And I was in the gym at the Gold's Gym in Hollywood, and in the locker room, and this girl said, well, you have to visualize. If you want something, you have to visualize it. And then I said, well, I don't visualize what I don't want, and I have that. And then they laughed, and I said, that's it. That's the one. So then I wrote it down.
That's really funny.
But when it comes out organically, I guess, is out of the real situation, right?
It's wonderful when that happens. Well, thanks for hanging out with me on your way to the Bill Burr podcast.
This was good practice. No, I wish my Bill Burr podcast would be this good.
Name drop me on the Bill Burr podcast. Get me so then I can pick up on his audience.
That was Andrew. Should we call him and go, hey, are you happy though? I mean, did we touch all the elements?
We did great. But
humor, wit, insight, truth, raw, honesty, pain, pathos. No.
I think we hit all that. Jann, tell everyone where they can hang out with you online and your website.
I did a podcast I called In My Bed. Mm-hmm. And then we did Fred Stoller, actually in my bed. Funny, intimate conversations with people I've never slept with. And so Fred was here, Fred Stoller, and he was in the Young Comedian special. But there was like March 7th, right before the world came to an end. And we shot it, and that's on YouTube. So if you want to watch that, and I think I'm going to re-pick that up. And can I borrow your microphone?
Yes, you can. You should pick it up. I watched that. I heard you on his podcast. I think it was an earlier podcast he had from like 2015.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell him to return my calls. I'll have him on the podcast. Tell everyone where they can find you online, where you hang out online and stuff.
Okay, so I'm Facebook, right? Or Instagram is Jann Karam. I'm there a lot. I have stories and reels. Facebook, Jann Karam. And then JannKaram.com, I guess. Is that good?
That's perfect. You nailed it.
I can't do anymore.
I can hear everyone hanging up and going there right now. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I so appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. It was so much fun, Jeff. Thanks for having me on. And I really appreciate you reaching out to me and asking me to be a guest on your podcast.
Well, I'm so glad you said yes. All right. How awesome was Jann Karam? Jann is so funny. She's so talented. Go to the show notes. You can find her YouTube channel. Go to her website. Watch her award-winning short film, Under the Big Moo Moo. You can watch her acclaimed solo play, Reclining Nude on La Cienega. I'm not sure I said that right, but the link is right. So much of Jann's work for you to enjoy. Well, with the interview over, it can only mean one thing. That's right. We've come to the end of yet another episode. How did they fly by so fast? I want to thank my special guest once again, Jann Karam. And of course, I want to thank all of you for coming back week after week. It means the world to me, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Classic Conversations. If you like what you heard, don't be shy and give us a follow on your favorite podcast app. Also, why not go ahead and tell all your friends about the show? You strike us as the kind of person that people listen to. Thanks in advance for spreading the word, and we'll catch you next time on Classic Conversations.